When I was a kid, the slasher films meant little to me. It was the psychological and occult horror films that freaked me out. One film was, and still is legendary, The Exorcist. Premiering in 1973, The Exorcist was the work of a seasoned screenwriter, William Peter Blatty, and the self-made working-class director who made a name for themselves in New Hollywood, William "Billy" Friedkin. The film dominated the box office, not being toppled from the biggest blockbuster America had ever seen until Star Wars came along. The film has totally encompassed the zeitgeist for generations, and yet, even as a fan of horror, the first time I saw The Exorcist was in a pop-up cinema at Glastonbury Music Festival at 1 AM. Not the best place to watch it. Let's just say it left an impression, and I saw scenes in that film no one else ever saw. So in today's video, I'm looking at the stills photography of The Exorcist, and I'll just tell you, it didn't disappoint. Josh Weiner was the stills photographer of The Exorcist, and not just that, he did the stills photography of Taxi Driver and Apocalypse Now. Like, can you imagine? Like, just doing any one of those films would have been an absolute dream. Imagine you're the stills photographer on all three anyway. There are loads of great photographs online from The Exorcist, both key art and stills, and there are a number of reasons why I think they are so good. Reason number one is they're photojournalistic. Like the film, the stills photographs are just as haunting, especially the one that feel real, like a press photographer was sent there to document the case for a local newspaper. Yes, there are lots of photographs of the crew as well, but even some of those, if you can see Reagan in the shot looking twisted and concerned, they still look terrifying. They have that kind of reportage, gritty black and white aesthetic that works so well through that period. Director William Friedkin actually came from a documentary background as well. He kind of worked his way up from the mailroom of a TV studio, ultimately like doing loads of documentaries, and I think he brought that to it. And that's another reason why not only the film seems kind of so authentic, but the stills photography looks real as well. It's not just photojournalism that colours the stills photography of The Exorcist, it's surrealism as well. The iconic movie poster photograph was inspired by the surrealist René Magritte's L'Empire de Lumière from 1961, and it's an incredible photograph. The silhouette of the priest lit by the light emanating from the possessed child's bedroom, iconic is the word. Another reason why the stills photography was so good, because at that point in 1973, it was all practical special effects. Yeah. Not only did this look great on film, it also gave the actors something to work off, and come on, stills photography on green screen sound stages, no good. Someone or something that dominates the film entirely, a bit like Hannibal Lecter does in Silence of the Lambs and yet has zero screen time, is Pazuzu. You only see Pazuzu as glimpse statues, figurines, and subliminal flashes throughout the film. And in the crescendo of the exorcism scene, where the priests are kind of chanting, "The power of Christ compels you, the power of Christ compels you," there's this absolutely insane moment where there's a statue of Pazuzu that appears by Reagan's bed, and she's kind of distorted up and reaching out. I'm telling you, man, I've got goosebumps right now just thinking about it. It's that intense, and wouldn't you know, there's some stills photography of that scene as well. So this is a film still from the film, and at first I thought, oh no, it's just another kind of screen grab someone's done, but no, it's definitely a still for two reasons. One, the colour cast is so different, and two, it's a slightly different angle of the statue Pazuzu, and I'm telling you, man, for me, that is just, oh, that is it. That is it. They said people walked out the cinema watching this. Obviously there's lots of scenes where you think people might. This is just so occult. It's so freaking trippy and horrific. And one thing that makes it really fun as well, obviously William Friedkin, like the director, he's kind of funny dude. Check out this. He just dived in there and obviously got a snap of him in front of Pazuzu as well. What a character. Now obviously it's not something you do now, but they did actually film in real institutions. As in, you know, this photograph was actually made in a real hospital, okay? Those aren't actors in the background, they're patients. Yeah, pretty intense, right? One thing that I really enjoyed going through the stills photographs was seeing the relationship between William Friedkin and the very young actress at the time, only 13 years old, Linda Blair. And they're really touching images, they're lovely. This photograph of William leaning in with Reagan, it literally looks like her dad. And look at her smile, it's so lovely. And again, throughout the film, you see these very kind of important scenes, and there's Billy directing the young Linda Blair, And it's just this most lovely relationship. I mean, look at this one. I mean, this is crazy. This is the bedroom. This is like the nightmare sort of nexus point of the whole film. And they're just having so much fun. And that was the thing is that they looked for like 500 actresses to play the role of Regan in the film. And they finally settled on Linda Blair because Billy felt she was the most intelligent, she was the most stable. And for a young child to go through like all the scenes of that film would be pretty disturbing, let alone the fallout of the film coming out itself. If you have a bad child actor, it can wreck your film. Think about how Phantom Menace fared versus, say, a film like The Sixth Sense, okay? So you can see why Billy was so kind of enamoured with Linda Blair, because she made the film. Without her, it just wouldn't have worked. One thing I thought, looking at the stills photography of The Exorcist, is how they reminded me of something else. And that was the documentation of the very kind of famous in England anyway, Enfield poltergeist haunting. Okay, if you don't know about the Enfield poltergeist, it's this kind of thing you grew up on if you're in the late 70s, early 80s in Britain, where you'd see these photographs of these girls in kind of very 70s bedrooms with orange bedspreads, and they'd be flying around the room, and someone would be holding their leg as they flying around by the poltergeist movement. It was absolutely terrifying. But anyway, there's something to do with The Exorcist and its domestic setting, which kind of really led the way for kind of more conventional and developed horror films. Because formerly, the horror was in the woods. The horror was in the castle up the mountain. But in The Exorcist, the horror was in your house. It was in your child's bedroom. That is absolutely terrifying. And you know, maybe it was responsible for the start of the satanic panic, all that kind of stuff that went on in America, but who knows. But just for my money, looking at the stills photos of The Exorcist and seeing those photographs of the Enfield poltergeist revisited, I did see kind of a nice kind of overlap. Phew. And if you like that, for spooky season, I'm going to do another horror film next week. That's again deconstructing the stills photography of my second favourite horror film. But yeah, I'll leave you to guess what that is. Pop it in the comments, okay? And you know what? I think I've got room to do one more, so you know, write some horror films you'd like me to check out, okay? And we'll do it. Thank you for watching, and if you feel compelled to like, comment and subscribe, please do, because the power of Christ compels you. The power of Christ compels you.
The power of Christ compels you!